Someone once said, if your voice is loud, some people will listen. But if your message is strong, everyone will pay attention. Hi everyone, welcome Tat Channel, and today I have an inspiring story for you.
One day, a professor walked into the classroom with a calm yet mysterious demeanor. He announced that there would be a surprise test today. The room fell silent. Some students felt a wave of anxiety, while others were curious about what kind of challenge the professor had prepared for them. One by one, the test papers were handed out, but the professor instructed everyone to keep them face down until every student had received one. The tension in the room grew, hearts beating a little faster as they tried to imagine what awaited them on the page. Finally, the professor gave the signal, and the students turned their sheets over. What they saw left them puzzled. There were no questions, no instructions. Instead, each paper was completely blank, except for a single black dot in the center. The students exchanged confused glances. Was this some kind of trick? A psychological experiment? Breaking the silence, the professor spoke gently. I want you to write about what you see on this paper. That was all, he said, no further explanation. No hints. Some students furrowed their brows, trying to grasp the meaning behind this unusual task, but soon they all started writing. They described the black dot, its size, its position, and what it might represent. Each student focused entirely on that one small mark. No one thought to mention the vast white space surrounding it. When the test ended, the students realized that this wasn't just an ordinary writing exercise. It was a profound lesson about how people perceive life. As the professor instructed the students to begin writing, the room quickly fell into a tense silence. Each student stared at the paper in front of them, trying to find some hidden meaning behind this unusual request. The paper was blank, except for a small black dot in the center. Yet instead of focusing on the vast white space around it, all of them fixated on that single black mark. Each student began describing the position, size, and their thoughts about the black dot. Some guessed it could symbolize a problem, an obstacle in life, while others thought it might represent a flaw or lack. But no one paid attention to the white space surrounding it, a place full of opportunity, freedom, and beauty. They all continued to write about what they saw, not the whole picture, but only a tiny point dot. It was clear that in the minds of these students, the black dot had captured their full attention. They forgot about the vast white paper, the many possibilities, and the good things around them because of one small issue that clouded their vision. Though the bigger picture was expansive and beautiful, a tiny black dot was enough to dominate their minds, making everything else seem irrelevant. When the professor saw these reactions, he couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. He understood that this was a lesson in how we perceive life. Sometimes, we focus so much on the small problems that we forget the larger, more beautiful things around us. After collecting all the papers, the professor stood up and gazed around the classroom. He didn't speak right away, allowing the silence to settle and giving the students time to reflect on what had just transpired. Then, he began to speak softly, but with a tone full of wisdom. I'm not going to grade this test because it wasn't meant to assess you. I just wanted to give you something to think about. All eyes turned to him as he continued. You were given a blank sheet of paper with only a small black dot in the center. Yet, all of you focused only on that black dot, describing it, thinking about it, as though it was the only thing that mattered. He paused, letting his words sink in. Then, he gently added, our lives are just like that sheet of paper. Most of our lives are filled with beautiful moments, joy, peace, love, and all the wonderful things we have. But just like you did, we often focus on the small problems, the setbacks, the difficulties. We let the black dots overshadow everything else. We forget the vast white space surrounding us. The professor paused for a moment, looking into the eyes of his students, and said, remember, the black dots are just a tiny part of our lives. We need to learn to recognize and appreciate the vast white space, the good things, no matter how small they may seem, because they are what truly matter. His words echoed deeply, awakening a realization in each student about how they perceive life and how they face challenges without letting them dominate their entire existence. The professor gazed around the classroom, his eyes filled with understanding and compassion. He continued softly, our lives, just like that blank sheet of paper, are filled with so many beautiful and precious things. Every day we wake up, we can feel the peace of nature, the love from our family and friends, the joy from our work, or the quiet moments we take for ourselves. Yet, we tend to focus only on the small challenges, the temporary setbacks, and forget all the larger things around us. A deep silence settled over the room as the professor continued. We may face health issues, financial struggles, or relationships that don't go as planned. These are real problems, and they need our attention, but they do not define our entire lives. Remember, most of our lives are not made up of black dots, but of vast white spaces, those simple, beautiful moments we often fail to notice. The professor looked into the eyes of his students, his gaze carrying a powerful message. Be grateful for what you have, no matter how small. A beautiful morning, a heartfelt conversation with a friend, the peaceful moments in life. These are the things that deserve our attention and appreciation. Finally, he emphasized, learn to see life through eyes of gratitude. Don't let the black dots overshadow everything else. We can live happy and more fulfilling lives if we learn to embrace the good, even when it may seem small or simple. His lesson struck a deep chord with the students, reminding them that true happiness in life doesn't come from avoiding every problem, but from the ability to see and appreciate the wonderful things that exist, even when difficulties are still present. For Omini. Finally, the professor concluded his lecture with a profound message, emphasizing the need to change how we perceive life. He said, our lives are like a blank sheet of paper, with so much space to enjoy and appreciate. However, we often focus too much on the black dots, the problems and difficulties. These can sometimes make us feel that life is a series of failures and worries, but in reality, they only represent a very small part of the bigger picture. The professor continued, remember, the majority of our lives are made up of good things: our health, love, valuable relationships, the joy in our work, peaceful moments, and inner tranquility. These things may not always grab our attention, but they are what truly make life whole. He looked at his students, each of them deep in thought, then added, we often fail to recognize the good things until we lose them, or when we meet someone who doesn't have what we have. For instance, we only feel grateful for having a home when we see someone without one. Cherish what you have before it's gone. Don't let the difficulties overshadow the wonderful things around you. The professor's words served as a reminder to change our perspective. Life, despite its challenges, is full of precious moments. By learning to see the good things in life and cherishing every moment, we can find joy, peace, and true happiness.